Okay, so I'm John Reardon with Harvest Technology Group. We are going to be showing an enterprise document management solution integrated with SunGard. I know that we've got a lot of different areas of responsibility here. All of the major SunGard areas, human resources, finance, and student, are represented. So as I go through the presentation, I'm going to be showing different aspects of our solution with students. You know, sometimes we'll use student data, sometimes we'll use human resources data. Just know that for redundancy's sake and for brevity's sake, we're only going to show each area in one time, and you should be able to say, okay, well now I can see how that would apply to student information, even though I may be showing something that's finance related. So when we talk about document management, there's really three main areas of technology that we're discussing. And the first is the ability to quickly and easily access our documents. So I've got documents that are stored somewhere. They may be in a filing cabinet right now. I need access to that information. How do I get it? How do I see that information quickly and easily? The second thing is, how do I get information into the system? So you may think, okay, well, scanning is the best way to get documents into the system. Well, that's true. Scanning is a component, but if documents are arriving in our school district in a digital format, I don't want to have to scan them. So if I'm getting emails, I don't want to print and then scan. If I'm generating report cards or reports out of eSchoolPLUS, I don't want to have to print and then scan. So we'll talk about how we're able to accomplish that in a minute. And then finally, workflow. So when a document or a form is created inside your school district, it almost always has some sort of an action associated to it. So what is that action? What needs to happen? Who needs to perform it? And what other information do they need in order to make a decision about that document? So that's what we're going to be talking about when we talk about workflow, and we'll show you that in just a few minutes. Also, some of you may be using a different student information system or a different finance system than SunGard. The integrations that we're going to show and talk about will work across other platforms as long as they're not something really, really off the wall. So we'll talk about that as well. So let's take a look at Content 360, and we're going to start with document retrieval. And the reason we do this is that, comparatively speaking, you're going to have more users accessing documents than you are that are going to be having to put documents into the system. So what we want to be able to do is, when I'm looking for information, I want to be able to see related documents in the context of where I am inside my SunGard applications. And we do that by giving you an integration that allows you to retrieve content directly related to the screen inside SunGard. So I'm on a Henry Radcliffe, and this is an employee screen. When I click the button, I can retrieve either an individual document in this example or a list of documents related to that employee. Now, once I have the document presented, this is an I-9 form. If I click on the annotation tab, I have the ability to add sticky notes to the document. I can go in and highlight information or redact information, or print or email if I have appropriate security privileges. So any questions about that level of access? So this document is related specifically to that information located on the screen inside eFinancePLUS. Okay. Additionally, eSchoolPLUS. This is a student summary screen. When I click the button, in this example, I'm retrieving a list of documents, not just an individual document. So I have a group of documents that were related to that student. And then if I want to see them, I just click the link and then there's the document. Okay. Any questions about that level of retrieval? Sure.
These all open within a browser window. So this is all cloud-based. So you're essentially opening a new tab or a new window to access this set of documents.
That's correct. Yes. Now, it's browser-based. Whether or not it's cloud-based is up to you. Okay. It can be local. Okay. Sure. Okay. Additionally, while most users will be able to search and retrieve documents directly from within SunGard, you may have the need to search on a more broad base of documents, or you may not be sure exactly what the document name is or how it was stored, and you don't have to go in through SunGard to find it. So using our search criteria, we can go in and select all vendor invoices, for example, using an accounts payable example. Show me all vendor invoices starting with the letter B, vendor name. And when I click search, again, I have that list of documents. So we can use date ranges, dollar amounts, greater than, less than, not equal to, equal to. So we've got a really broad way to go in and search across a range of different documents to find what we're looking for inside of Content 360. And again, just clicking on the view button pulls up the document for us. Now, a little bit of a different example. This is a student. This is a student example. So here I'm searching for all content types. So I'm searching across all different types of documents, but I want to constrain the search just by students with the last name Smith. Okay, and I can do that inside Content 360 as well. One of the other common requests is, can I see documents that are missing? So show me all students who do not have an I-9 form. Oh, I'm not an I-9 form. Like a immunization certificate, something along those lines. Absolutely. And that helps, obviously, with compliance. So let's talk a little bit about capturing content. First and foremost, anything that you're generating out of your SunGard applications right now, and this is where in most school districts the majority of the paper is created. Right? I go in, I run a batch of purchase orders. I go in and I print report cards for the quarter or transcript requests. Anything that you're generating out of SunGard can automatically be captured and indexed in Content 360. It doesn't have to be, but we have that capability. What ends up happening then, and when I say automatically indexed, all the information that I want to store related to that document, we can store. So if it's employee data, it's first name, last name, social. If it's student information, student ID, first name, last name, home address, whatever that information is. That's what we're talking about by indexing. Okay. Now, anything that enters the district that is not related to SunGard or is not being generated by SunGard, we can also capture as well. So the mail you're receiving, forms that parents are dropping off, admissions information. All of that we can capture, but it does require either some sort of a manual or an OCR process to gather the same data. And I'll show you how we use SunGard information to be able to make that process as fast as possible as well. So in this example, another human resources example, I've got an emergency medical form for Henry Radcliffe. I've scanned it in using a multifunction device or maybe a scanner attached to my desk. And now I need to store it inside Content 360, and I need to tell Content 360 what it is. So I could go in and start typing in this information, right? But there's a chance that Henry could be Hank inside of, or be H. Radcliffe. So what I want to do in order to maintain data consistency is I'm just going to select the content type. So this is an emergency medical form. I'm going to key in a single data value at the top, and I know that may be hard to see in the back, but that's an employee ID. And then when I click Auto Populate, Content 360 is going to go out into eFinancePLUS and pull forward the rest of the index values and use those to store that document. So with a single data click or a single data field entry, I'm able to index these documents by a lot of different things. And the reason that's valuable is I may at some point in time want to be able to run reports on this information. Also, I want to make sure that this document is linked to the correct person inside of eFinancePLUS when I go to do the retrieval at a later date. So any questions about that process? Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, if this were a finance, I may use purchase order number or vendor ID as my index values. If this is a student document, I'm going to use student ID. Okay, and again, if I don't want to have to key in anything about documents, I just want to scan them and have them automatically go into Content 360 to the correct place. We can use OCR to take advantage of anything on the document. So in an OCR example, we're actually reading data on the document, pulling it out, and using that to create our index files. We've got a lot of flexibility in how we accomplish this. So OCR works great for anything that's machine printed, but a lot of times student records information and human resources is handwritten. So we can use ICR to get handwritten characters. I will say that it's not the most reliable thing in the world, but we can enhance that when we marry that data with SunGard. I'll show you that in just a second. So OMR boxes, so if someone is performing a benefit change request or something regarding a student, they can click boxes. We can read that data in, make sure a document is signed, and even perform line item extraction from a finance perspective. So one of the things we do, even when we extract the data off of those forms, we like to compare it with the data that's already in SunGard. So am I seeing the total of this invoice equal the total of the purchase order? If not, I can make a decision on that. Am I seeing that the student address that I pulled off of the form matches the student address I have inside of eSchoolPLUS? If not, then I need to have some sort of action created on that document. And what that action looks like is we're back in our indexing screen. And by the way, mismatches of data is one thing. Questions about data integrity. So when I pulled the OCR off of that document, did I pull a 1, a lowercase l, or an exclamation point? Right? I'm not really sure, so I need human interaction to go in and take a look at it. Especially if you have a faxed copy of a copy and it's really hard to read. One other thing, in this example, we're pulling in a birth certificate, maybe for a new hire or for a student. We've got a problem with the data read. The field is highlighted in red. When I click on it, it shows me the area that we're looking at on the form. It looks like it's pulled a 5 instead of an S. We can make the change that to an S, and then move on in our indexing process. Now, the birth certificate only has a couple of key pieces of information on it, right? It's certainly not enough to complete our indexing process. So again, even after we perform the OCR, I can go into Content 360 and based upon the data that we've retrieved, make a selection. So is this L Adams, is it Eloise Adams, is it E Adams? Those are the values that sort of match my criteria. When I select the correct one and then click auto populate, we again populate the rest of the values inside Content 360. So the idea is that we want to make sure that the data capture portion is as accurate and as easy and as fast as possible, because then people will put more and more data into the system and it becomes more and more valuable. All right. Any questions about that process? Okay, fantastic. Let's talk about PDF forms and workflow. So, wow, forms in school districts are like potato chips. You can never have just one, right? It seems like, I mean, everything from how do I fill out a form to make sure the lights are on in the gymnasium from 2 to 3 on Saturday, to I need to take a vacation. All of these PDF forms are generally available to your employees on your website. One of the, is anyone here from Radnor School District? Okay, this is a concept we did for them, their student maintenance form. So whenever there's a change to student information or student data, this form is filled out. Right now it's completely manual, so they go in and they fill this information out by hand, and they route it to 2 or 3 different places depending upon the type of information that needs to be captured, and then finally it ends up with someone who keys it into SunGard. Okay, maybe a common scenario for you guys. In our world, we want this information to be, again, as accurate and as easy to capture as possible. So by just keying in a student ID, we're able to populate the rest of the values on the form. Okay, those of you that are Fast Times or my high fans will recognize Mr. Spicoli here. There's not a lot of humor in document management. We have to add it where we can. All right. So again, I can go in and using this is just a PDF form that we created. I can click fields on the form. I can use drop-down lists. So emotional disturbance sounds right. And then I can even assign the document. And then submit it into Content 360 where it will be routed using workflow. Okay, so when I click submit, that document will now go in and it will follow whatever workflow we set up for it. Forms are probably one of the, forms are definitely the first step in a lot of workflow processes. So just think about what happens in your district, right? You submit a form, or you fill out a form, it's got to go somewhere, someone's got to make a decision about what to do with that information. Finally, though, once the forms have completed their process, we will lock them down and add them to the employee file, the student record, or wherever it needs to go. This is inside the workflow engine. So after that form has been submitted, I can go in and I can look at any step in my workflow process to find out what tasks are in there that require my attention or what tasks require someone on my team's attention. So when you guys, I know you can't read this, but this is basically the flow for that document. So it goes to the administration building, then it goes to the principal, maybe to an individual teacher, and there's different options you can select here. But in this example, we'll select the administration building. Here's all the documents or the student action forms that are inside that step in the workflow process. When I select the form, it will pull up a lot of other information. So here's the form itself, the document that's driving the process. Again, if this were accounts payable, this may be the vendor invoice. I have related content, so I can look and say, okay, well, in order for me to figure out what to do with this, I need additional information. So I'm going to look at a discipline report. and then I'm going to look at maybe the medical evaluation. And then I say, okay, yep, this change is approved or something along those lines. I can send it to whoever I need to send it to, the next step in the process, and the individual user that needs that attention, and then route it. So a lot's going on kind of behind the scenes. Anytime a document enters or exits a step inside the workflow process, we're noting that with the time and what action was performed while it was there. As timers that we preset are exceeded, we can start to send out email notifications saying, hey, you said that you wanted to process this document within 48 hours. Well, it's 48.1. You got to do something with it. All right. And again, if no action is taken, we can escalate the notifications. So a lot we can do inside the workflow process. Also in the back end, keeping track of who did what when the document was in that state of the workflow. One other note about workflow. I know that SunGard does have workflow built into some of their applications. They're increasing that. That's great. What workflow makes sense to be in SunGard, leave there. But if you think about all the other little processes that are paper-based in your school districts that don't have any accountability other than a phone call or an email saying, hey, where is that? That's where Content 360 workflow can step in. Okay. Also, during this workflow process, especially when we're using PDF forms, what are we doing? We're capturing a lot of data, right? Why have that information now have to be rekeyed into SunGard? Drop it out into a delimited file, and we'll automatically update the tables inside SunGard. So all the data that you're collecting in these PDF forms that has to be keyed somewhere, we can automatically take that process and automate it. Okay, a couple of the quick notes about functionality. Email is probably one of the most, one of the largest growth places for content. The more and more stuff is being emailed into the districts. Using our Outlook integration, just right-click, click Import to Content 360, and then you can bring that document in. So very, very quickly we can capture emails and email attachments into Content 360. Also, automatically creating forms. So I've got teacher contracts that go out once a year. That data is already located inside of Content 360 or inside SunGard. We can grab it, use that data to populate the form, and then automatically send those out if that's something that you think you can utilize. Teacher Access Center. So teachers, we want to give access to properly registered students to teachers, making sure that they can only see the information for the students that are registered to them. From the student drawer, again, using the integration button to pull up documents that are related to students. So something that are very, very popular, because right now they don't have access to a lot of that information that they would normally need access to. So let's talk a little bit about, this is going to be mostly from just a finance example, and I'll start by saying that we love workflow, but if there are common requests, I mean, we're very strong partners with SunGard. We've been working with them I've been working with them since 1999. But if it makes sense for us to build functionality into our software that helps a wide variety of school districts, we absolutely will do that. This is an example where we made changes to our software to help with the accounts payable process. So in the accounts payable process, what we were seeing is that a lot of the districts had stacks and stacks of paper. And these were the invoices that had to be paid. And so every Friday, or whenever they're doing a paycheck, they would be scrolling through this stack of invoices, looking at SunGard to see, well, has it been received yet, and can I go ahead and key it in for payment? Knowing that we can store this digitally and electronically, we thought there was a better way. So what we're doing with these invoices inside Content 360 is that we're polling SunGard. We're trying to figure out if this information has been, if these products have been received or not. When they are received, we'll automatically update that field inside Content 360. What this allows us to do then is using our search functionality, I can go in and say, show me all the vendor invoices that have been received. And again, no one had to type that in. That's data that we're pulling from SunGard, but haven't been keyed into SunGard yet for payment. When I do that, I now have a list of what is scheduled and can be paid in this check run. Again, going in, looking at the document, I'm going to edit it this time. I'm pulling up our indexing screen once again, where I see I've already keyed in a lot of data about this invoice already. So I may have keyed it in, I may have captured it from SunGard, but I already have a lot of data that I don't want to have to rekey into the post accounts payable screen inside SunGard. So usually this is a dual monitor process. I've got the post accounts payable screen on one side. I've got the document inside Contact 360 on another screen. I'm going to split screen, if you will. So this gets a little crowded, but I think you'll see what we can do. So inside of SunGard, I'm going to key in a control number, which is related to that check. I'm going to click the integration button, and when I do, we're actually using a bidirectional integration to take content inside Contact 360, populate it into SunGard, and take that control number from SunGard and populate the field inside Contact 360. Okay, so I'm only keying this information in one time, if at all. Any questions about that? So if I used OCR on this document, I have all these data values. We can automatically populate the post accounts payable screen inside SunGard. Now, with the clients we've worked with, the one thing they did not want to capture was the total. So the total they are keying in twice as a quality control step. Okay, so now I have that data, the control number that I keyed in over there. I have all the rest of the information keyed into SunGard, and we've updated the field to say, yes, this has now been keyed for this invoice, so it won't show up the next time I want to run checks. Afterwards, if I want to do another quality control step, I can just search for my control number and then scroll down to the bottom. We're automatically totaling this information at the bottom of the screen. So this is the list of all the checks or all the invoices that were processed with that check, and then I can compare that data to what's on my check register inside of SunGard. Make sure that the totals match up, and then I can send this check out instead of using adding tape or something else to get that total. Any questions about that process? Okay, again, for the student folks, thanks for sitting through that. I know it's more finance focused, but this is something that we see a lot of value, and it just shows you what we can do when we find a requirement inside of SunGard. One other quick note about that, people say, okay, what if I have a lot of non-PO based invoices? In our next version, we're going to be releasing HTML forms, so I can actually do my coding in those individual forms as part of my workflow process. And then that information ultimately will flow into eFinancePLUS as well. Okay, a few more minutes and a few more topics we'll talk about. From a payroll perspective, I know we've got a couple of human resources folks in here. Pay run reports, we've had challenges, or clients have had challenges with trying to determine which employee check was in which payroll run report, because all I get is the kind of the general list. We're able to do some additional indexing and accessing that information. Also tax documents and other things that you're storing in the employee online, we can give you another place to store those. And one of the things that's very critical, really in all aspects of document management, is retention schedules. So how long do I need to store this document? Finance is usually pretty straightforward, except when you have 7 years, unless it's bond funded, and then it's the life of the bond. So how do I figure it out and how long I need to store this information? So record retention is big across all areas. Budgeting and reporting, another area in finance that we work a lot with. On the student side, state reporting. So you get these giant reports from the state, we can automatically burst them, put them online, and assign that only the information required to each individual school district. They can go in and review that information and yes, approve or not, make changes if necessary. Transfer and continuances, another workflow that we've done. If you want to transfer from one campus to another, there's a little workflow involved there, and something else. It's a pretty easy one. Click yes, you approve, click yes, you approve, sign it, and then it's done. If you want to talk about student records, is anyone here from Lancaster? Okay. Lancaster has used our technology to go completely digital in their student team folders. So they actually went and they were very aggressive and went and back scanned all of their current or all of their previous student folders. So they now have nothing but electronic student records over there. So I will be very candid as well and say that not most of our school districts don't go to that level. But Lancaster was fortunate, and I think they had bond funds. They were able to go and hire some people to come in and scan and do that indexing process. But it just shows where you can go, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to talk to you and show them what they've done. So, all right. And then finally, supplemental pay requests. Anyone here struggling with supplemental pay requests? How did I pay so-and-so for driving the bus on that Thursday, and what check run was that in? Another workflow area that we've done a lot of development work. So, any questions? And again, I know we've got about 2 minutes left. I know this is a really rapid-fire approach to try and get this information. If you would like us to reach out to us, our contact information is right here. We'll be more than happy to schedule either a one-on-one presentation or just go into a specific area that you may not have seen everything you wanted to see. So, any questions? Who's hungry?
If you put one of these out in your cards, you can get stickers on them.
Are there any intermediate units using this? Those school districts, are there